Well, how you doing? Tomlin's Nyback. It's 365 days towards racial change, day 313 going on here. Ooh, we're moving right along. I'm going to get that 365 somehow, some way. We're just going to chip away at it. Listen, so we got the virus going on, another virus, and on the other side of this, I'm expecting to see. I'm not going to be surprised to see some, you know, the world moving closer to some international standards of health and hygiene. Because this is, we're getting the frequency, we're getting intensity, and you know, and it's just not not looking good. People are actually dying from this. Now, some of the argument I've heard, some of the pushback is, every year influenzas and flus and stuff like that. Other viruses cause plenty of deaths as well. This has come upon us, but there are we. It'd be nice if we took the same measures consistently against all contagion, but we don't. As partly political stuff, whatnot. But I think in this case, we have the economic component added to this that was not attached to some of these other outbreaks. You know what I mean? Like, so because of we're this uh, illness is it's extremely contagious and infectious, right? So it, part of the response to it is social distancing and stuff like that. So and to do that, businesses have to close for a time. So we're having this kind of moratorium on normal economic life, and it's happening in a very short period of time. Economically, it's all messed up. We're trying stimulus packages and all this crazy stuff. And so it's a problem. Problem. I'm not going to go big on this um, because, believe it or not, I got my issues with the current administration and president. But this president, he got caught on this one. And this is a guy of incredible creativity and charisma, right? Um, but this was something he wasn't planning on, and I wouldn't wish anything on him like that of that nature. But yeah, I can tell in his demeanor and some of the news conferences I've seen, he's a little off his game on this one. He's usually on strictly on top. Um, so, and balancing my angst that I may have with the administration, I want to say, uh, some words just to support our leadership for an extremely challenging time. This thing came upon us pretty quickly. You know, it in all fairness, there was some issues about disbanding some elements of government that were in place that could have probably got the United States a little more prepared. But we're trying to look forward now. So best of luck to you, Mr. President, and the current administration in this challenging time. Now, what are we doing here at 365 days towards racial change. Well, we're talking about black issues. How does what does racism look like in the pandemic? Right? Now the pandemic itself and the numbers. Um, I watched the numbers on CNN, um, and the numbers of the relationship between death and confirmed cases of coronavirus. It stands, it's like 1.2% of people that have this illness are dying in America. And they're expecting that number to go up. So, but it's less than 2% are um, are dying, but it's still dangerous, right? If you're uh, immuno, if your immune system's compromised, elderly, things like that, you're at a higher risk. So, um, I'm 52, so I'm approaching those ages where these pandemics get much more riskier. But racism, what's it like for black people and white people, other colors, languages in the nation? Are we still, because of social distancing and like I'm not in school. School is closed. It's spring break at this time anyway. But schools were closing anyway. Businesses are closing and whatnot. Although I can't tell the difference. I live near an industrial area and there's people working their asses off right now. So not too much of that. Money can give you a different kind of motivation. But I don't see like what would happen if food really, the bottom of resources really fell out, right? Would we see some of the more gross challenges that would exacerbate differences in races and colors and skin colors in America, right? This is the kind of thing that would really bring out some of the more ugly aspects of what racism could be in terms of securing resources, sustaining yourself in the land, right? Where's the preference? Where's the privilege? Do those words um, disappear? Are we all together in one pot? Or would we see the dispensation of privileges and resources stratified along lines of color? This is a question. I'm not um, too far off base here in posing the question. Look, we got increased frequency, we got increased intensity with these diseases and pandemics around the world. You're gonna, one good deadly, you know, boil making, debilitating, airborne illness on the planet, and you're going to see um, you're going to see some interesting behavior. When people are in desperation. I hope I'm not around to see that kind of um, see those kind of changes in human beings. We're kind of okay. We've got stuff, fresh water. I got a little ice box in my apartment here, and little food stuffs, whatnot. But if the bottom drops out, boom, where are we going to be? Right? Does America just unveil its racism, right? And, you know, see people congregating around like colors and stuff. It's a very real concern, very real issue. Um, right now, we've locked elbows because um, the resources are there, lights are on, we get fresh water, can cook food and stuff, you know. But in America, anyway, here's the thing: to America, like we've got shortages on protective gear. People overseas ain't got that problem. They saw the issue and they got on top of it. And this is one thing I was afraid of about America that I didn't want to see, but it's coming to light where there's a price tag on the pandemic, right? And you got a lot of companies scrambling and a lot of patriotic posturing out there, but it's America. It's the dollar. Make no point about it. Even if people are making it and stuff, they're billing. There's not no pro bono work out there in America. Trust me, there's keeping tallies. Every box that goes out the door, there's some bean counter checking that off, right? And then somebody's getting a bill for that, right? And so right now we've got these shortages. And it's concerning because for the healthcare workers, it's concerning because if the healthcare workers don't have protective equipment, they're either getting sick or spreading the disease, right? And then you have you have no safe space for healing in the land if we lose the place of healing and the people in it. So that's a problem. But as I watch the conversation and I watch this thing unfold, underlying this these considerations is the almighty American dollar and how that is a consideration in the conversation. This is a massive emergency, but you still got people, you know. Uh, I'm speaking on it because I believed at one time I was in a land where that would not be an issue or a problem, but it is, right? I watch too much Star Trek. You never get a bill in Star Trek unless you're a Ferengi. Let me get to it here. But it's going to be interesting to see. You keep your eyes and ears open. I don't know if you're watching these, you know, daily and keeping up with new ones. I'm all over the place lately. But it's going to be interesting to see how America navigates this time. This land, racism, finances. America's got a lot of very strong spirits in the land, right? There are elephants in the room, and they will be worked with as America deals with this illness, this disease. I'm inspired to do this work on racism. Of course, they're now possibly exacerbated by coronavirus by a man named Dr. Claud Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. He's got plenty of stuff, and you can find him here on YouTube as well. A Black History reader, 101 questions you never thought to ask. And we're in our part 3, finishing up our reparations series today. Black labor, white wealth, search for power and economic justice, and Dr. Anderson's national plan to empower Black America. Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and here, like I said, on YouTube. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. You'll find Black women supporting each other, having conversations and stuff. It's the internet. Please get out there and find your flavor. It's out there. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com, for also for some your business needs and aspirations. Um, and finally, we've gone through Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, um, fictional life of slave life in America, but we map that onto contemporary Black life. And we've had a lot of great conversations there as well. Hey, listen, this is the World Wide Web. If you can't find your flavor, do what I did, start your own. All right. Here we go. Part three of reparations. Day two, day 313. Wow, 313. And I know I missed one way back. We'll get that together later on. The question is, our government has paid reparations to numerous groups. Why won't they pay reparations to blacks for slavery? And we know, well, part one, reparations is no new thing for America. We looked at Germans, Jews, Native Americans, Japanese, Mexicans, plenty of groups got reparated from their interaction with America. As America, asserted its dominance in the world, in the land, and dominates, and then will heal you a little bit. Black people get a little of this here and there, but we don't get that same kind of consideration that other groups enjoy. Day two, we talked about a few reasons for a white resistance to reparations. Whites don't want us really being co-equal in space. As long as we are a little behind and underneath economically, whites can consistently have their dominance. Price tags would be too high. We estimate it in the trillions of dollars for unpaid labor, abuses, interest, things like that. Some other reasons. Whites say that the reparations argument's not compelling. That means it's not convincing enough. Um, um, some of they say a statute's limitations is run out, so I'll just leave it alone. But we kind of challenge that because um, slavery was the event, but white people still benefit and still have privilege and have no connection with the hardship of this portion of America, and black folks to some degree still carry and live that disadvantage that their ancestors carried. So I don't know, like Dr. Anderson, he wonders where this statutes of limitation exist, um, because both parties are still either benefiting or living at a disadvantage from that event in America. Day 313, to wrap up, is we look at Dr. Anderson. He notes some groups have acknowledged their involvement. The Catholic Church um, sends its regards. In 1985, Pope John Paul II um, gave an apology, acknowledged Catholicism's part in slavery. As recently as 2008, House of Representatives gave an apology of some sorts. We get plenty. Lip service abounds. We got plenty of headlines, and I don't know if it's like whenever it's politically correct or whatever. you get some humble blathering about um, being sorry for the slavery episode in America. But that's about it. Sure, there might be some educational resources and stuff for minorities. If you stuck around here, you know how I feel about minorities, people of color, and black people. Those are different groups that have different issues. I'm not going to go into that there. That's an argument you either get or you don't. Where I'm talking about black people, the experience of black people, right? I'm not a person of color. I'm not a minority. I'm not an African American. You know. Um, and here's Dr. Anderson. He's like, oh, we get apologies every year for the rest of our lifetime. We're not getting the resources. We're not getting the ability to self-determine our lives, which is where I'm at. It's like, get out of the way. Don't step over me for promotions and stuff in the workplace, as what as my experience um, indicates. Right now, I I'm more sensitive and on guard on some of the ways that white people have employed discrimination against me personally, my personal testimony. Um, there's a lot of people that say I'm making too much of a fuss, or other groups are making too much of a fuss. But I can say they're probably not black people. This is the internet, so I read mail and stuff like that. Um, and some people don't understand the reparations argument and don't understand why I would be so polarized and biased and wanting to make reparations for black people and not minorities and people of color and all this big old this big old group. Black people bore the brunt of this thing for hundreds of years. Therefore, black people alone, at least first, primarily get access. Everybody else can go be a slave for a couple hundred years, right? And then maybe they'll understand my position in the argument. So our concerns are continually subsumed into a greater group that does not share our history, our disadvantages, our stigmas to some degree, right? Um, and when I mean subsumed is the like I drink coffee here, right? Well, the coffee is there's what 12 few ounces there, right? But if I put in a 1 tablespoon of sugar, I like just a lot of sugar. Put cream in my coffee too. Well, the cream and sugar are subsumed into the greater majority of the coffee. I'm not adding coffee to my cream and sugar. I'm adding cream and sugar to my coffee, right? The cream and sugar are subsumed into the greater portion of coffee, and this is kind of the fault of black folks too. Is whenever privileges and resources are rolled out, um, we don't hear much about it now, but maybe if you're talking programs, initiatives of the 60s, well, here comes all these other groups making their bid for some act or some title that's for Black Americans. And so all our desires, our efforts are reaching for some new privilege presented to us in the land um, gets absorbed into the greater whole, right? And Dr. Anderson and I we're eye to eye on this. I understand what he's saying there, but I know there's plenty of people like, it's people of color and stuff, right? It's everybody who has some uh, some beef with the United States, and it's just only black people have those descended from slaves have bore the brunt of this terrible uh, circumstance in the land in this way. Mm-mm. So we get our concerns, resources made available, get watered down, subsumed into people of color and minority language. That's more acceptable. Uh, White folks, the power group can digest that idea much more readily than uh, saying this is for Black Americans. Um, Plenty of political posturing, always all around. Well, what was it, a year or so ago? Mitch McConnell says that America is over its race problem because we had a Black president. Um, wow, you know, like that put a rubber stamp on the end of racism. I mean, what world do you live in where that would validate, that would be a proof that racism is done in America? Old Mitch. But all the posturing politics doesn't negate, erase, eradicate, eradicate the gap between white and black folks in America. You know, um, I'm glad that our athletes and entertainers are, they're doing fantastic. They're becoming more billionaires and stuff. It's becoming more common, but it's not the norm for black folks, right? You readily see it. You don't even think twice when you see white folks making some of the achievements, financial goals and achievements and strides that they do in America. You don't think they don't even bat an eye. A good correlation. You think about relationships, right? Right. If my poor black ass hooks up with a nice white girl, I get a lot of pushback, a lot of heads turn, a lot of um, resistance, right? Now, but when a well-to-do a white man, especially actor, has a nice young woman on his side, people just good for him. They like that. It's the same with finances. Um, you know, we it's such an achievement for black people, which it is, because for a black person to get in position financially is an achievement, right? Uh, Yet for when you see white people do it, you don't even. That's not you don't recognize any effort put into that experience at all. you know. Um, in my experience, it's when some young white man is giving me the what for in the blue collar world, right? Guys half my age telling me, and part of that's my fault because my dumb black self out there smoking crack, burning up my life, being ignorant of um, how this is going to affect me. I own that, no problem. I own that, right? But you know, you see this young white man that's uh, being groomed and brought up and processed in moving in within that system, all his life, whether he's got his vehicle, his space, his relationship, and all these things, right? And really, giving me the business, right? So this you find um, this attitude of white dominance in the land, and you don't see you see little to no shame for any attachment to that person's the behavior of that person's ancestors in the past, right? See, where reparations, maybe it might not look always financially, but maybe it would look like some respect out in the world, some inclusion, some recognition um, from the power group of what they're dealing with, um, of the how against all odds that they can even have that conversation with a black person. Um, Black people have success, but white people are still move faster up the train. Remember, I've showed you this where black people, yeah, black people, we're down here, we're moving up, but white people are just exponentially outpacing black growth. That's it for now. I'm way over. Tomlin's Nyback. That's day 313 out of the way. 365 days towards racial change. Come back tomorrow. We'll get into some new material. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you next time.